Okay, welcome to the
Yes.
Spiritual Principles Made Practical podcast. And we're very lucky to have with us today Chad Peterson or Patterson. And one of the great things about Chad that to me puts him above 99.9% of other people is this man walks his talk. And
Oh,
I have been around, I'm 68. I've been around all kinds of programs and all kinds of leaders and all kinds of teachers. And I got to tell you, to find somebody like Chad that walks his talk is a rare find. So I'm really pleased to have you here.
you're
Chad,
so kind. Thank you, Scott.
I've listened to some of your podcasts and I've talked to you, and I think I'm a pretty good judge of character, and you win.
Oh, wow. Man. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. That means a lot to me. I appreciate you sharing that. That's the best thing anyone could ever say to me, I think, is that I'm real and I walk what I talk. So thank you for that.
Yes, you do. And Chad is a coach, and he does something that I think is probably the best thing that coaches do, which is he's always working on himself to improve. Then that enables him to really be a great coach. And what I wanted to do today, if you're up for it, and I think you are because we sort of talked about it, is I want to showcase your abilities. So
Okay.
I want you to coach me if you're cool with that.
I'm with you, man. We're gonna have fun. So
Okay, good.
I'm right beside you.
Okay, so let me tell you like how okay, you want to lead the coaching session or you want me to jump in? How do you do it?
Well, so if we're just going live and raw, obviously, I think any coaching conversation starts with what are people's hopes and goals, and what's kind of the why behind what they're seeking coaching for. So maybe if you want to share just maybe some goals or some hopes that you would have from our conversation today, that'd be a great place to start.
Sure. I got involved in spirituality over 40 years ago, and what attracted me to it was I felt better than I felt doing anything else. And that started my meditation practice. And through 40 years of meditation, I've learned a bunch of stuff. And uh, ultimately, what I've learned is that to lead an inspired life, I have to listen to and follow my inspiration. And one of the things that's happened about that is I've learned that when I have an idea that's imbued with tremendous inner congruence and love and peace and just solidity, that I can trust it, and it's always proven true. So I've written 13 books and I've done all this stuff. And what I find that I need to do to be true to following my inspiration is to do at least attempt, right? At least attempt to help advance win-win thinking so it becomes the dominant thinking in the world. And so that's what I'm up to. And I, part of me in my progress is, part of me is going, that's ridiculous. Who are you? And what makes you think you can do that? And then, but the other part of me says, whenever I engage in that topic and I make a little bit of an advance in my acceptance of that's what I want to do with my life, I become energized and enlivened, and I'm happy and I'm solid and I'm confident and I'm inspired and I get all kinds of insights and I experience what I want to experience in life.
Beautiful.
So I'm trying to close the gap and further accept things that I'm trying to walk my talk, in the idea that one of the inspirations I've had is that we all have the capacity within us to achieve the goals we're inspired to achieve, and that the benefit of any goal is the growth we need to have in order to achieve that goal. And so I'm looking for more growth, more self-acceptance, more ability to, if I really truly do have that capacity within me to achieve that goal, how to access that capacity more effectively. And Does any of that make any sense, or am I ready
Oh,
like for bed?
I'm taking notes it's beautiful. I just want to shut up and listen to you talk. That's beautiful.
So, I mean, so
Um,
part of me is, I mean, I've always been one of these guys that wanted to go along to get along. I want to always be part of anything. And so it's, uh, I've had to deal with a lot of fear,
mm,
talking about this stuff, because part of me says, everyone's going to write you off as being a wacko, and you're going to be alone in the world, and nobody's going to want anything to do with you. So I
yeah.
had to choose between giving into that fear and following my inspiration. And so I'm doing my best to follow my inspiration and say, yeah, I accept the fears there, and I'm not going to act on that fear.
Yeah. Wow. That man, Scott, just what you shared is beautiful. I hope people can even just capture and take in the heart of what you're sharing. You said some really, really powerful, vulnerable words, I would call them. And man, for you to, you're just getting started, by the way. I think you said 40 years, but your best is still yet to come because you're hungry for more and there's more. And so, man,
Oh, yeah.
standing ovation.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I do feel my best years are ahead of me. I do. That's true.
Yeah. So I'm curious if you can maybe help us all understand or help me understand. So when you say you've been on this journey for 40 years, what was that inner voice? What was that catalyst for you that really caused you to start and now stay on this journey?
I bought the book Be Here Now over 40 years ago. And I read that book, and I spent the weekend meditating per the instructions in that book on the beach in San Simeon. And I was so high, I couldn't believe it. It was like, oh my God, I want to live like this. And so ever since then, I've been trying to align more with myself and listen more to myself more deeply, so that I can have that just massive inspiration and stuff and live with that. And as I continued to go down that road, I started to learn things like the more I work on myself, the more value I am to other people. And that, I really think that, and I can really help people by creating a vibration of acceptance. And I've had people have like cathartic releases just talking to me, just because I was accepting enough that they got into that mode of acceptance and were able to accept whatever they needed to have the healing they needed,
Yeah.
and I mean, just amazing, wonderful things. And my life just keeps getting richer doing this. Did
Yeah.
that answer the
Yeah.
question?
That's inspiring. That's contagious just listening to you talk. So thank you for sharing that. I'm curious. So, when you said the word, I guess two words that kind of caught my heart a little bit in terms of this journey, what keeps you going. I hear you say the inspiration and the ability to add value to others. And then I heard you mention something about a fear. It's kind of for me, it's the fear versus freedom conversation sometimes that we have in our minds. And so what helps you listen to that inspiration side voice versus the fear voice? Have you found some strategies or techniques to help you not listen to the fear?
Well, to me, I listen to it, but I don't act on it. And I had this one, um, God, I was backpacking with my brother, and and we were coming up on the pass, and there was loose gravel, and every step I took, my foot slid back on the loose gravel, and I was starting to lose my breath at 12,000 feet and starting to panic. And my older brother says to me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Well, I'm scared, but I'm going to make it." And as soon as I acknowledged that I was scared,
Yeah.
bang, I had the power and energy, and I was on top of that ridge.
Yep.
And that showed me that uh, if I acknowledge the existence of the fear and then choose to act on the inspiration, that it's going to work out for me. And that, combined with the fact that early on, I really understood that I had to make a choice in life, that either I was going to give into the fear and have no life, or I was going to act in spite of the fear and have a life.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've given hundreds of speeches, and I don't think there's one that I haven't been afraid of. Right before this speech, this lady was saying, "You're giving all these speeches, how how are you now? I said, nervous as ever. You
Yeah.
know?
Man, that's so funny, Scott. I say the very same thing. So I'm curious. I know for me, it causes me to stay humble. Is there a response in your heart to that fear that causes you to have a certain posture? Is it humility? Is it respect? What would you call that for yourself?
Um, I actually, for me, it's kind of pride in
Okay.
my ability to acknowledge the fear and make myself and my life more important than the fear.
I love it. I
Because
love
like I
it.
said, I mean, to me, it's really black and white, right? If I give into the fear, I have no life,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and denying the fear doesn't work for me, but acknowledging its existence and choosing to act in spite of it, that's what works for me.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, man. So for me, I know there have been times in my life where I had to actually name my fears. I mean, they had names and faces. um, I mean, because I think you're right. I think it's kind of like stress. I think, we have these conversations. Wow, I wish I could just eliminate stress. And it's like, well, stress is actually a good thing for us if we channel it in the right way and respond the right way. I think it's very similar to fear. Fear in itself, I don't know is such a bad thing. I think it causes, just like you said, to have some really deeper realizations about our strengths and our power and our potential. So I applaud you for that. Would you have any specific names for fears that have really caused you to stumble in the past, that you've for sure slayed those dragons?
I don't think I slayed any of them. I mean, I think I've learned to operate in spite of them. I mean,
Okay.
a huge fear I have is, intellectually, I know it's ridiculous, but it's really strong within me. I'm petrified of like ending up alone. Of not being included.
Yeah.
I was at a an event at my tennis club, and I was at this table with a bunch of my friends and stuff. And this one gal comes over who has sort of put it all together. And I said to her, I said, Linda, I says, thank you so much for including me. It just meant so much to be
Yeah.
included. And I was like, just even now recounting the story, I mean, it's like it just brings me to tears, right? Because
Yeah.
it's
I
like
hear it.
my
Yeah.
my fear of not being included is just, um,
Yeah.
you know, it's huge now, and it always has been. And so if I was going to name one fear, I think it would be that, and that's in spite of having written that when I'm connected to myself, I'm connected to everybody, and that and I mean, and I've got all the intellectual stuff, but
Mhm.
you can tell even now the emotional stuff is still with me.
Yeah, man, and thank you for sharing that. I think that's so encouraging for me, and I know whoever's listening to know that, man, someone that has the experience that you've had and has had the success and that has that spirit of continued growth, to know that you're human enough to still feel that, and that's a powerful thing, Scott. I think it's sad when people even lose the ability to feel things they're afraid of. I don't want to live in a neutral state. I don't know that that's what we've been designed to do. So I'm thankful that you can look back there and go there, and that it still bubbles in you. That just tells me your heart is alive and well, but that you've learned how to deal with that. I applaud you for that. That's a beautiful expression of how you can look fear in the eye, and put it in its right place. So way to go.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I will say is that I've been consciously dealing with fear for so long that I've developed some skill at it.
Okay. Awesome. So if you were to break that down, because I think, in these coaching conversations, just like you've obviously learned how to, I would call them anchors or handles or tools. I mean, whatever strategies, whatever you want to frame it as, you have some techniques and some strategies, habits, if you will, that you put into motion whenever you encounter that. Can you share with us any of those strategies that might be able to encourage someone else in that same place?
I write stuff down, and boy, and once. once it goes on the page, it has a pretty good chance of leaving my head. So I mean, even if, and it's rare when I can't like sleep well, but when those times happen, I get up and I just dump every thought that comes into my mind. I write down on the page, and
Okay.
usually within 15 minutes or so, I'm exhausted and I can go right to sleep. So
Wow.
it's
Good for you.
it's about I mean, I've one of the things I've learned is that acceptance is healing, and so if I accept that I'm in an endless worry loop, like, okay, I just write, I'm in an endless worry loop. And then I take a breath to see what happens next. Usually that endless worry loop isn't there anymore.
Wow. Awesome. So you pause and you breathe, you said?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
To me, breathe, following my breath helps me reset, right? It helps
yeah.
me get into the present moment. I mean, in my mind, the way I believe things is that there is no suffering in the present moment. So if I'm suffering, I'm not focused in the present. And so one of the ways that I use to be more present is to just be aware of my breathing,
Yeah. Yeah.
inhale, exhale.
Are there so Scott, I'm guessing I would think you believe maybe this way. Do you buy the whole mind body spirit connection, how we're
Oh,
all
100%.
yeah,
100%.
yeah. Are there other, we talked about breathing because I think sometimes physically, for me, that's one of the quickest ways I can reset my mind or my spirit. I don't know. There's the physical connection for me. Maybe I'm the little kinesthetic kid, I guess. I don't
Well,
know.
I am too. I'm way kinesthetic. So
Yeah. So do you have other physical mechanisms that cause you to stay centered or to help you deal with those moments? I know you mentioned tennis. Is that part of that? For
yeah,
me,
well,
I go to the,
tennis. You can't play tennis unless you're focused in the present. If you're worried about the score, you're going to miss the ball, right? You got to watch. I gave a speech. I'm in Toastmasters. I gave a speech in Toastmasters, and it was titled "Keep Your Eye on the Ball."
yep.
And it's like, and that's a way of being present is to just watch the ball.
Yeah.
And so certainly playing tennis helps me stay present as a physical activity.
Good.
Um, Other things that I'd love to do, I love to sunbathe. Like a lot of times after lunch, go in the outside reclining chair and just lay in the
Awesome.
sun and just feel the warmth of the sun, and oh,
Yeah.
it's just heaven, and that really brings me into center.
Yeah.
So
That sounds very life-giving. I enjoy being outside. So mostly on sunny days, they're my favorite. But even if it's cloudy, and there's just something about being outside for me that fills my tank. And so I can definitely relate to that.
yeah.
Do you have any other, so something that just came to mind when you talked about being connected? I know one of my greatest fears, if you will, was not being good enough, let's say. And I sometimes talk myself down or talk myself out of things. Has that ever been a battle for you in any way?
Um, that hasn't not huge. I mean, some because I had the thought, like I've had to work a lot on my thinking over time. I mean, initially when I was my first job out of college, I was a salesman, and I had to change my thinking of what sales was from pushing things on people they don't want or need to compassionately responding to another's need. So, but
Yeah.
where was I going? I was getting to your question. Tell me again what the question was.
Well, when you've had those battles and those struggles, we all have different coping mechanisms. We all have different strategies. And just the whole talk yourself down, the self-limiting belief, if you will.
About perfection. Yeah.
Yeah, not, but yeah, that's a great way
Yeah,
to
but
say
I
put it
haven't
to me.
really had a problem with that because I've embraced the thought, and I've encouraged other people that the decision to move forward shouldn't be based on whether or not it's perfect, because there's always room for improvement. The decision to move forward should be based on, does moving forward lift up me and other people?
Yeah,
And so one of the things that I kind of embrace is that I'm not perfect, and that everything I do has room for improvement, and that doesn't mean I don't have value to offer. And
right.
so I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm going to go out there and
Sure.
be, and to some extent, um, it, my imperfections, I think, help inspire people in the respect that they say, well, you know what, this guy's not perfect and he's doing it. I
Yeah.
can at least do as well as he's doing it, you know? So it's like,
Isn't that
there's people that have written books that I've, then I've inspired them because I've written books, right? And they said, well, if that guy can do it, I can do it, you know? And
yeah.
that have done
Yeah.
podcasts, the same reason and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm not really, I'm not really too concerned about that's not really a big one for me.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I wanted to give another example because I'd like to do an exercise with you if you're up for
Okay,
that. And
sure. Yeah.
it's a 3 step, and anyone can do this. It's been very life-changing for me. But now that we've kind of had some different themes to talk about, if I can lay some context over this
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
you. So it's called the 3R technique. You've probably heard of it, and maybe you're the one that created this. I don't know. You're so creative. But the first concept in your life. So when you say I want to grow and get better, and there's more for me to do, and there's a higher level for me to get to, oftentimes for us to go forward, we have to remove anything that's a barrier in our heart, our mind, our body. So the first step is the release. Is there anything that you might want to release that's keeping you from getting to that next level? And then after we go through the release piece, then we talk about what are the things opposite of that that we want to reach towards, maybe some new habits, some new thoughts. And then the third piece is once we establish those new habits, that becomes our new here. It's kind of the current state, future state model, if you will. So
Okay.
do you mind walking through
Yeah.
that
No,
with
let's
me?
do it. Okay. So
Okay. Okay.
I,
So
I have this block. Okay, where I'm really resistant to receiving and benefiting from other people's help. I mean, it's
okay.
horrible.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I've been in various like coaching things, for like, and it's like, and I'm just, I'm so sure it's not going to work for me, and uh, and part of it may be rooted in the idea that, um, I felt that if I didn't do it myself, I could never be proud of myself. So self-esteem has been a big issue for me my whole life. And so part of it
Okay.
might be rooted in that. I don't know, but I just have but it's like I've been in these things, and I have good friends, and they just like pull their hair out because they say, Scott, if you would just do this and this and this, like things would explode and work for you. And I'm like, I just can't make myself do it, and I don't know. And
So
it's horrible.
what's your so if you were to give that a name, what would you call that? What is that? What is that? Is
And
it a
I
spirit?
mean, resistance to benefiting from other people's help.
Okay. And break it down even more. Is there so what's even underneath that? What would cause you to be
Well, I mean,
resistant?
this feeling, I mean, and that's why I didn't take over my father's business, that if I don't do it myself, I'll never feel good about myself.
Okay.
Is that I'll feel that, the other people did it, not me. And intellectually, I know that's crazy and stupid, but boy, emotionally, it's so strong.
Yeah. Is that something you felt for a long, long time? Is that more of a new phase or
Oh, it's
how
been years and years and years and years and years. I mean, when I was in college, my dad wanted me to. So even applying to college, I made sure that I got in on my SAT scores and my GPA. Even though my dad is a Yale alumni, he could have gotten me into Yale. I didn't even apply to Yale,
wow.
right? And when I got a job, I wanted to get it through the placement center out of college because I didn't want to have someone say that, you know what, your dad pulled some strings at the companies he had stock in to get you this job. I wanted to do it on my own merit. So I mean, I
Okay.
could trace even back to, when I was a teenager, this feeling that I could never feel good about myself if I took and benefited from help from other people.
That's interesting. Okay. Because now, I've met you at this point in your life, and even in the phone conversations we've had, I hear a lot of you. You have such a focus on wanting to serve and add value to others. So it's interesting how that's been an internal block. Um, anyway, so is there a value to that you would place? Is there a core value that's at wrestling within you around that you would name?
Well, I would say it's self-esteem, and like I said, I've been working on self-esteem for decades. And I finally
Okay.
to the aspect that the only thing that makes me feel better about myself is accepting and being proud of my traits.
Yeah. Do you feel like you own your traits well? Are you a strengths guy?
Yes and
In
no.
other words,
I mean, there are things that I get. I mean, some of the things I'm really proud of is that oh, it wants me to upgrade now. Okay, hang on a second.
okay,
Oh,
we can talk fast if we need to.
okay. Yeah. So
Well, let me interrupt you on purpose. So name 10 of your strengths. I'm just curious what Scott
okay,
sees within himself that have such great value. Name me
okay.
10 things.
The biggest one is that I can tap into the wisdom of the universe that exists within me and put it on a page. The next
Okay.
one is that I'm honest and congruent. The next one is that I'm accepting of myself and other people at a really profound level that heals. Another one is that I'm kind. I value kindness, and I believe in telling the truth with all the kindness that I can muster. Another one is that a piece of wisdom is that there's no way that helping other people doesn't help me because we're all one. And
Okay.
another one is that um, I am really proud of the fact that I can go to sleep at night without regrets and shame for how I've lived my life.
Oh, that's huge, Scott. I hope people heard that. Well,
So,
that's so you rattled off a lot, right? So if we had more time, eventually I would love to say, hey, Scott, I'd like for you to make every day for the next week, write down 10 more things that show value within Scott. Let's get you up to 50 to 70 to 100. Do you think that's a possible thing to do?
um, yeah, I could do that.
Okay. Okay. So that might be an exercise. So when you talk about self-esteem and self-worth, if you will, sometimes that's a strategy I like to use, even with us big kids who are 58 years old. Sometimes we have to be reminded of the value that we are and who we are and what we have. I believe we're all uniquely designed and gifted, and we have so much to give to the world. It's just a matter of, like you said from the beginning, you nailed it. We have to not let fear rob our joy and our freedom. So anyway, that could be a technique to where on the release wall, you could help someone undo any self-limiting belief talk, if you will, by reminding them of all the value that they have and who they are. Let's shift gears just because of time. So if we focus on releasing things or momentum blockers, I call them, or barriers, or whatever we want to say that keeps Chad and Scott from being their very best, it's almost like if you were to turn to your left and name that wall your release wall, right? And you would maybe on a sticky note write these things that you want to turn from. Then I would say, now do a 180 and look at the right wall, and that would be your reach wall. And so I would ask you, are there other values? Are there other aspects of Scott's life that you're really striving to attain in the next 90 days? Would there be any goals or hopes that you would be focused on trying to reach? And that would be your reach wall. Can you name any of those?
Yeah, that I gain a level of acceptance of the value I have to offer in terms of inspiring people to adopt win-win thinking at a level that I have a greater audience.
Okay. And even within that, that's man, that changes the world, right? Are there any other action steps underneath that you could even focus on and try to reach? Can you break it down to even a more granular level of
I mean,
maybe
I
some
guess
more?
I could give another speech at Toastmasters that
Okay.
increases my self acceptance and self acceptance of my own worth and value.
Yeah, because I think I know I've found in my life, Scott, I think the hopes and the dreams and the targets that we have and the desires that we have are magical. But to me, the real power is when we put action steps and start walking those out in our life with our choices and our behavior every day. So they don't just remain targets, they're actually our behavior. It's who we start living like. So I want to encourage people in that, to where as we think about new hopes or new directions, it's great to have that. But man, if we don't put action to it, right? Um, it's just nothing more than a hope. And I find a lot of power and transformation in the journey, in the process. And I think sometimes we skip over that. You seem to be someone who really embraces the journey. Is that a fair statement about Scott?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you think about your release, and this is a silly example, but do you have any goals in your tennis life? If you were to break down a dimension of your life, or financially or spiritually, maybe you even have some areas that you're really trying to target and grow and strengthen and
I have
increase.
I have some financial goals that I'd like to move forward with.
Okay. So even on that wall, on that reach wall, you can maybe even go back a step and say, man, what's keeping me from being at my financial best? What's keeping me from increasing my financial portfolio or wealth, or whatever, however you want to frame that? And again, it's kind of that same mindset. There's usually things that hold us back that we want to release and turn from. And there are things we want to begin looking like and living like, so we can reach those new dimensions in those new states. That's really the premise of the whole release and reach. It's not rocket science. It's fifth grade, probably on best level.
Yeah.
But
It
implementing
works
that
though.
is where the
Yeah,
real transformation.
that's awesome.
And
Well,
then
listen, we're almost out of time. I want you to tell people how they can contact you if they want to have more interactions with you.
well, you're so kind, and we need to finish this conversation, by the way, friend. Um, well, I'm chadpattersoncoaching.com is my website. I just also I haven't reached 13 books like you. You're my hero, but I've just published my first book. It's Leadership Art Unleashed book.com. But if you just Google Chad Patterson Coaching, you should be able to connect to both of those. And I'd be more than honored to visit with anyone further if there's a value or a way I could help someone become better in any dimension of their life, physically, emotionally, spiritually, in the context of leading yourself, or if you're a leader of a team. I'd be more than honored to have that conversation, to put some frameworks and practical things in place and really help you excel and be your best.
It's awesome. That's awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to continue my conversation with you when we have more time.
Yeah. Well, hey, and wish best wishes to you and your wife. I hope she's doing well.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you and everyone. And it's been an honor just to spend some of your time with you, Scott. Thank you for that gift.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.